And even though we've seen that in this real world there is only one thing, this physical world appears to be made of dualities and pairs. Healthy or sick, rich or poor, happy or sad, pleasure and pain, cold and hot, raga and devesha, if you remember when we spoke about that, yin and yang. Call it what you will. Our job is to transcend that. And the degree to which we pull it off determines a lot about our success here in this world of physical bodies. And in the real world too. We have seen that we have 7 main chakras that have a one-to-one correspondence with these aura layers, with these subtle bodies. That is, each of our 7 main chakras corresponds to one and only one body. One physical one and 6 subtle ones. Now, another thing we've seen that's real on energy contact is that invisible body intellect. We've seen that all those things we were always taught in school, they were brain things. The things that give us thought, memory, reason, recall, intellect, intelligence, all those things. That they are in fact in every cell of our body. They permeate every cell of our body. They saturate us. Our body then is just a projection of that invisible body intellect. It's made in its image and likeness. And it's made that way on purpose. There's absolutely nothing random about it. So, what all this means is that we're wanting to get to the real stuff, to look at the details of your chakras and your subtle bodies. We want to introduce you to someone you really ought to know by now. So we're continuing to look at the visible, built by the invisible, using the physical as a window to the real. We want to see what your aura and chakras have to do with the fact that it is difficult, if not absolutely impossible, to be a happy person, a healthy person, a spiritual person, a well-adjusted person, until and unless we learn how to promote the flow of invisible energy through our physical mass. We want to see in practical terms how that upward flow of energy not only affects and builds our physical selves, but how that real stuff turned into this stuff in the first place. We want to take the false and misleading concept, the false feeling of randomness right out of the equation. We want to determine what are the consequences of inhibiting the flow of energy and what are the rewards of promoting it. But even this new understanding is not the goal. The goal is to get to what all of this aura chakra business have to do with your health, your growth, your self-improvement, and the realization of your full potential. Remember, there are many great saints throughout history who did just fine and they never even knew what a chakra was. Chakras at an intellectual level are not important. And yet, we're coming to an intellectual understanding of them. And that's where we are today. Today we're continuing to examine the building process from the earth up, understanding how, while there is only one thing, the different chakras seem to divide out the chores and responsibilities for our well-being. We want to know what these different chakras do and why, particularly the root chakra. We are in the process of understanding esoteric things analytically. We're looking at science, or looking at mysticism rather, through scientific eyes. And while this analysis is worthwhile, it also means that to some degree we're categorizing and classifying. And that's always dangerous territory here on Energy Contact. Please bear in mind that sort of an analytical understanding of all of this data without the conceptual feel of what it means to you will take you away from your goal rather than towards it. All right. So that's where we're headed today. But first, we've reached the point of the show where we get to stop for a second and take a deep breath and take our virtual field trip, our journey in our mind's eye, like we do about this time of every show. And today, we're going to return to last week's visualization. Recall that you and I have a project to climb up on a roof and wash off some skylights and some stuff up on the roof of this house. And so we pull an old garden hose out of the garage of this place, and I hook one end up to the spigot down here on planet Earth, and you take the other end up the ladder to the roof. Now from where I stand, I can just see that hose going up the wall of that building vertically. But this garden hose has been in storage for a while, and though we aren't aware of it yet, it's got kinks in it. 7 of them to be exact. And so there you are, standing up on the roof and waiting for something to come flowing up and out of that hose. And there I am on planet Earth, and I turn the spigot on, and absolutely nothing happens. So you study the problem for a moment, and then you notice one of those creases in the hose, right up there near your end of it, right up there near the end of it. And so you smooth it out, thinking certainly that as soon as that comes out of there, that the problem will be solved. But it's no dice, no water comes out. And so you look and you spy another crease behind that. But when you straighten it out, same result, no water, no flow. In fact, the crimps are so set in that when you leave the first one to go work with the second one, the first one crimps back up again. Now about this time, I'm on the ground and I notice a fold right next to the spigot, right where I am. And so I uncrease that one. And all of a sudden, that water goes blasting through. And the surge in water pressure from that opens up the next one and the next one and the next one right after another. And all of a sudden, there you are up on the roof and you have flow. You have flow all the way from the spigot through the hose and out onto the roof. Hold that thought. We've been playing Pin the Chakras on Slim. We've been doing that to understand where these chakras are. And that's what we're going to return to today.